Hungarian Folk Tales. The Fox Princess. Once upon a time there was an old king, and he had 3 sons. The king was so old that he could not leave his castle, and so he had a church built in the grounds where he could pray. On the day that the church was at last complete, a bird began to sing on top of its tower. When the king heard the bird's song, he suddenly became a young man once more, and he ordered his sons to catch the bird. The eldest son climbed to the top of the tower, but as soon as he reached out to catch the bird, it flew away. The prince watched the bird as it flew, and he saw it land in a nearby forest. "Father, I saw where the bird flew. I shall pursue it. Godspeed, my son, and return with the bird as soon as you can." The young prince arrived at the forest as the sun began to set. He made a fire and ate his supper. Then he saw a fox. "Go, dog, and catch that fox." The fox stood and commanded, "May you and your dog turn to stone." So that is what happened. The next morning, the middle son climbed to the tower to catch the bird. He saw the same thing that his brother had seen, and as he came down from the tower, he said, "I too shall follow the bird." He reached the forest by sunset and also sat and ate his supper, and as he ate, he saw the fox. "Go, dog, and catch that fox." The fox stood and commanded, "May you and your dog turn to stone." On the third morning, the bird sang again, and so the youngest prince climbed the tower, but the bird flew away once more. The youngest son saw the same forest that his brothers had seen. He also followed the bird's flight and arrived at the forest as the sun was setting. He also made a fire and sat and ate his supper. Then he saw the fox. "Fine fox, do not bark. Come and share my food instead." "I would join you with pleasure, but I am afraid of your dog." "Don't be afraid. I shall tie it to a tree." "Prince, do you think the bird is in this tree?" "That's what I think. I saw it fly right here." "But that is not so. The bird is very far away, and don't be sad because we shall catch it." "The bird is in the land of the Red King, and that is 7 lands away. There is a pear tree in the garden of the king, and in that tree there is a hollow, and in that hollow lives the bird." Then the fox turned into a fine young man, and the 2 of them set forth. After many days and nights, they arrived at the city where the Red King lived. And as they approached the royal garden, the fox said, "This is the pear tree, Prince. It won't be hard to catch the bird, but there is one difficulty. As you climb down the tree, try not to bite a pear because the tree will make such a noise that it will wake all the guards in the royal palace." As the prince climbed back down the tree, he took a breath and opened his mouth so wide that a pear popped between his teeth, and he bit on it by chance. The guards ran to the garden and caught the young prince. The Red King said, "I see you are a prince. I should have you executed, but I will spare your life on one condition." "What would that be?" "There is a beautiful palace on the shores of the Red Sea. In that palace lives a beautiful princess. If you bring her here, I will pardon you. I have one life, I have one death. I shall do my best." "Again you took a difficult task. I won't let you do it alone. I shall take the task myself because you were good to me, unlike your brothers." The prince and the fox journeyed on and soon reached the shores of the Red Sea. The fox tore off a gigantic leaf and shaped it into a boat with oars. Then they sat in the boat and crossed the sea. And as they reached the far side of the sea, the fox kicked the boat and it turned into a pair of golden shoes, and the fox turned into an old cobbler with a long white beard. The fox then walked to and fro in front of the beautiful palace with the golden shoes in his hands. The princess shouted down to him, "Poor cobbler, bring those golden shoes to me and I shall buy them." "I'm sorry, your highness, but I am very old and cannot climb stairs. Would you be so kind and come down to try them on?" So the princess ran down to try on the shoes. They fit her beautiful feet perfectly. Then the old man shouted, "Little shoes, take all three of us to where we want to be." And they found themselves back on the far side of the sea in a flash. Then he asked the princess, "Tell me, do you know the Red King, as we came here to take you there?" "Of course I know him. I shall never marry him. I would rather die." "What would you say to the prince, your majesty?" "I should like to marry him even though he had me kidnapped." "Worry not, princess. You shall marry him and I shall marry the Red King." When they arrived back in the Red King's city, the fox did a somersault and changed into a pretty princess, much like the other. When the Red King saw the princess, he was delighted. He gathered all his ministers and friends and began to prepare for a wedding feast. And as they were sitting around the table, one of the wedding guests said, "This princess is perfect, except for one fault." The other asked, "And what is that?" The gentleman replied, "Why, she has the eyes of a fox." What girl would not be ashamed when someone says she has the eyes of a fox? The bride hid under the table, did a somersault, and turned back into the fox and ran out of the room in the greatest of haste. By the time the guests came to their senses, the fox was far, far away. The three of them continued their journey home, and as they passed the forest, they saw the place where the prince had given supper to the fox. Here the fox jumped down and said, "Do you see these figures of stone? They are your brothers, and these are their horses. How did they come to be here?" "They set their dogs on me, and so I turned them to stone. Would you like me to turn them back again?" "Of course I would. Every man loves his brothers." "Very well, I will turn them back, but you may be sorry I did." The fox then walked over and patted the stone statues. "Rise up and live once more." Both of them stood up, and the fox said, "Well, dear prince, I shall travel no further with you." They bid farewell to each other, and the fox left. The four of them travelled home together, but they soon began to quarrel. Was it fair the youngest son should marry first? So the two princes decided to kill their youngest brother. The eldest prince cut off his head with his sword. The fox knew this would happen, and it ran to find the head a distance from the body. It ran hither and thither and saw a snake with leaves in its mouth. "Hey, snake, give those leaves to me." "I will not. It took me 7 long years to find them." The fox stamped on the snake's tail, and it dropped the leaves on the ground. The fox picked the leaves up and ran to the prince. It rubbed the leaves on the prince's neck and put his head back in its proper place. The prince opened his eyes. "Oh, what a deep sleep I had. You fell asleep for eternity, but I saved your life. I told you your brothers would kill you and rob you of your wife. Take better care in the future. Godspeed." And then the fox vanished. The boy arrived home to his father with a little bird in his shirt. He placed the bird on top of the clock. The bird began to sing a beautiful tune, and the old king sprang to his feet like a young man once more. "Who brought this bird to me?" "It was me, father," said the youngest one. "What should I do with your troublesome brothers?" "Your Majesty, dear father, give them money and horses and let them go on their way. I never want to see them here again." And the two princes were banished from the land. The youngest prince married his beautiful bride, and they both lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Starry-Eyed Shepherd. Once upon a time, there lived a poor man. He had only one son and a wife. One day his son said, "Father, I'm going to leave home and seek my fortune." "Son, be sure to take the path where there's no mud." Then his parents gave the boy a bundle of food and bid him farewell. The boy walked and walked. He walked his way across 7 lands. He did not stop until he arrived at a lush green meadow, where he saw a flock of sheep grazing unattended. "Those poor sheep have been left all alone. I shall watch over them until their shepherd returns." The time passed, but no shepherd appeared. The boy stayed with the sheep until he ran out of food. He thought he would take the sheep down to the local town, where he would sell a few of them to buy some food for himself. The boy walked down into the town and sold a handful of lambs to the local butcher. He then used the money to purchase all that he needed and settled down with his sheep at the edge of the town. A king also lived in this town, and he was a very cruel king indeed. He was so very cruel that he had people executed for not saying "bless you" whenever he happened to sneeze. One Sunday morning, the king sneezed unusually loudly, and so all of his soldiers rode all over the country to order the common people to say, "Bless you, your highness, your very good health." The young shepherd was still out in the meadow watching over his flock when the soldiers rode up to him and ordered him to bless the king, but he refused to obey until the king granted him the hand of his beautiful daughter. So the soldiers carted the shepherd boy off to the palace and presented him to the king. The king's beautiful daughter was also there when they arrived, and she liked the young shepherd, but said nothing of it to anyone. Then the king addressed the shepherd, saying, "Will you not bless me, your king, and wish me good health?" "I will not, your highness, even if you have me killed, though I happily would if you let me marry your beautiful daughter." "A lowly shepherd boy like you will never marry my beautiful daughter." Then he ordered his soldiers to throw the shepherd boy to the hungry wild pigs. There the shepherd boy took out his flute and played a merry tune to the fat pigs. And the pigs liked the music so much that they began to dance. The shepherd made them dance until the pigs began to sweat and were all so tired that they fell fast asleep. Then the starry-eyed shepherd felt tired too and laid his head down for the night. In the morning, the marshal went to see if the boy was still alive, and when he saw that he was, he took him before the king again. "Now, young shepherd, wish that God should bless me and give me good health." "I will not, your majesty, not until you grant me your daughter's hand, not even if you throw me into the pit." "Guards, throw him into the pit with the scythe blades." "Oh, that's no joke. If I'm cast down into the pit," the shepherd thought, "the blades will cut me to shreds." The soldiers asked the shepherd again, "Well, will you now ask that God bless the king and wish him good health?" "Wait 1 minute, my good men. Leave me alone for a moment while I think." So the soldiers left the starry-eyed shepherd alone. The young shepherd stuck his crook into the ground, took off his coat, and then put his hat on top of the crook. He shouted to the soldiers, "Now you can come in and do with me what you will, for I shall never wish that God bless the king and give him good health." Then he swiftly hid himself in a dark corner. The soldiers were sure that the crook, the coat, and the hat were the shepherd boy, so they threw them into the pit. The candle down in the pit went out, and so they thought that the poor shepherd had landed on it and died. The very next morning, the marshal went out to check the pit. He heard a pretty tune playing on a flute inside. What on earth can this mean? It's impossible that the shepherd is playing his flute. So he opened the door of the house and saw the shepherd there merrily blowing his flute. He locked the door on the shepherd and ran back to the king. "Your Royal Highness, the starry-eyed shepherd is still alive." "Bring him before me at once," the king demanded. The shepherd was again presented, and the king again told him, "Ask that God bless me and wish me good health." "I will never do such a thing until I can marry your daughter, even if you have me thrown to the owls." "Take him to the tower. He will soon beg God to bless me and wish me good health when the hungry owls peck out his starry eyes." So they took the shepherd boy to a chamber in the tower. But as soon as the door was closed, he took out his flute and began to play, and a miraculous thing happened. All the animals in the tower began to dance to his merry tune. The animals screeched and shrieked, and the young shepherd made them dance until they were all tired out. Then they all pulled themselves away and fell fast asleep. Then the shepherd joined them and slept until morning. The next morning, the marshal went up to the tower. He opened the door to see the boy sitting and laughing to his heart's content. The king's marshal ran quickly back to his master. "Your Highness, the shepherd is laughing as happily as if he owned the whole land." "What a tough boy he is. He cannot be killed. Bring him here at once." "It is true that you cannot be killed. Now sit in the golden carriage." So the shepherd boy sat in the golden carriage, and they drove deep into the silver forest. Then the king asked, "Tell me, shepherd, if I gave you this splendid silver forest, would you ask that God bless me and wish me good health?" "No, your Royal Highness, I would not. It's not the silver forest that I long for, but your daughter." Then they drove further still until they came to a golden pond where all the fish and water creatures were made of the purest gold. Then the king asked once more, "If I gave you this pond, would you ask that God bless me and wish me good health?" "No, never, your Royal Highness." "Then let's drive on." They soon arrived at a wonderful white wall made of marble, and within the limits of the wall stood a palace studded with sparkling diamonds. It truly was a beautiful sight. "Now, shepherd, ask that God bless me and wish me very good health." "I will not, your Royal Highness, until I can marry your daughter." "What a terrible fellow you are!" And as nothing else could be done, the king let it be known that his daughter would marry the starry-eyed shepherd, and the wedding would be in 2 days' time. He warmly welcomed all his subjects to the feast and offered a banquet of good food and fine wine, and all the men in the kingdom attended, along with their wives, who all ate and drank to their heart's content. The tables were piled high with delicious dishes, including hot horseradish that made the old king sneeze. Then the shepherd began to say, "May God bless you, sire, and give you good health. May God bless you, sire, and give you good health. May God bless you, sire, and give you good health." And he said it over and over until the king interrupted. "Stop telling me that, son-in-law. If you stop saying it, I will grant you all I have, my country and my kingdom too." Then the king gave all he possessed to the starry-eyed shepherd, whose poor parents moved to the palace, and they all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. Brave Prince Nick. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a king. And the king had 3 daughters. Every morning he took a walk in the forest with his daughters, until one morning when a large black cloud appeared in the sky. "King, you must give me your eldest daughter, or else I will snatch the sun from the sky." Then the king said, "If you are a good spirit, come down. If you are a bad spirit, go away." So off the cloud went, and it took the sun with it. The next morning they went for a walk again, and the black cloud appeared again. "King, give me your middle daughter, or else I will take the moon from the sky." The king did not do as the cloud demanded, and so it took the moon. On the third day, the cloud appeared again. "King, give me your youngest daughter, or else I will steal all the stars." The king did not obey, and so it stole the stars. The world was ruled by darkness. One day, Prince Nick went down to the courtyard for water with his younger brother. "Brother, I would bring back the sun, the moon, and all the stars if the king would give me half of his kingdom and his youngest daughter's hand in marriage." The king heard what the prince said, and he sent for him, saying, "Look, my boy, if you do not do as you suggested, I shall have you executed. Give me a good sword, your majesty, and I shall set forth." And off he went through 7 lands. Eventually he came to a silver forest, and there he found a silver bridge. He struck the bridge, and a plank came loose. Then a dragon rode up on a horse, and the horse stumbled. The dragon said, "May dogs drink your blood. I have crossed this bridge for 3 years, but my horse has never stumbled. What happened? Fire for me, water for you, both of us must perish." The dragon climbed down from his horse and said, "Prince Nick, come out from your hiding place under the bridge. I have known you since you were no bigger than a seed, that I would have to do battle with you. How shall we fight? Wrestling, sticks, or swords? Wrestling is for dogs, sticks are for swineherds, swords are for heroes." And they began to fight. They fought and fought until Prince Nick cut off 2 of the dragon's heads. "Prince Nick, spare my last head, and I will return all the stars to you." "Where are they?" "There, under my saddle. Take them." Prince Nick took the stars from under the saddle, chopped the dragon's last head off, and walked away. He soon reached a golden forest. There he went up to a golden bridge. He struck the bridge with his sword. 2 planks broke off, and he hid himself under the bridge. The 7-headed dragon appeared, and its horse stumbled. "I have crossed this bridge for 7 years, but my horse has never stumbled. Why does it do it now? Fire for me, water for you, both of us must perish. Prince Nick, come out from your hiding place under the bridge. I have known since you were no bigger than a seed that I would have to do battle with you. How shall we fight? Wrestling, sticks, or swords? Wrestling is for dogs, sticks are for swineherds, swords are for heroes." They fought and fought until at last Prince Nick cut off 6 of the dragon's heads. "Prince Nick, spare my last head, and I will return you the moon. It is under my saddle." Prince Nick took the moon out and put it with the stars, and then he chopped off the dragon's last head. He walked and walked, and soon Prince Nick arrived at the diamond forest. He went to the diamond bridge and struck it with his sword. 3 planks broke off, and he hid himself. A dragon appeared with 12 heads, and its horse stumbled on the bridge. "What happened? I have never stumbled in all 12 years. Fire for me, water for you, both of us must perish. I have known since you were no bigger than a seed that I would have to do battle with you. How shall we fight? Wrestling, sticks, or swords? Wrestling is for dogs, sticks are for swineherds, swords are for heroes." They fought and fought until Prince Nick cut off 11 of the dragon's heads. "Prince Nick, spare me my last head, and I shall give you the sun. It is there, under my saddle." The dragon had a horse with only 3 legs, but that horse could run faster than any horse with 4. Prince Nick put the stars and the moon under the saddle, mounted the horse with 3 legs, chopped the dragon's last head off, and rode away. As he was riding out of the forest, a little man spoke to him from the top of a tree. "Prince Nick, do you really think that the sun, the moon and the stars are yours to keep?" "Of course. Who else should have them?" "Me." Prince Nick climbed the tree to do battle with the little man. While he was climbing, the little man jumped down into the saddle of the horse with 3 legs, and he rode off. Prince Nick climbed down and followed him, and as he was walking, he met a man. The man was crying. "Why are you crying?" "I'm crying because if I open my eyes, I can see through the world but see no further. Come with me, and you will be able to use your eyes again." They walked on and met another man who sat crying. "Why are you crying?" "I'm crying because if I take one step, I will step over the world, but then can step no further." "Come with us and you will be able to step again." As they walked, they reached a house where the little man lived. But he was not at home. Then Prince Nick said to the first man, "Have a good look around and try to find the little man with the long beard." "I can see him. He is sitting on top of a willow tree in the middle of the sea." "Catch the little man for me," he told the second man. And the second man took one step, caught the little man, and took him to Prince Nick by his beard. Then Prince Nick took the sun, the moon, and the stars away from him. He let the stars fly up into the sky, and they lit his way home. And as he journeyed, he let the moon go too, and as he grew close to home, he released the sun, so that he would arrive back in the bright daylight. When the 3 young men arrived home, the king gave them his daughters, and he granted Prince Nick half his kingdom. They had a wonderful wedding, and they all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. Abeles Kobeles. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a king. One day the king was out hunting in the forest and became so very lost that he could not find his way. "I wish someone would lead me out of this frightening forest and I would give him a sack of gold for his troubles." "Follow me and I will lead the way." And that's what he did. "You should know, King, that I need neither money nor anything else. But give me that what you have now, but did not have before you left your palace this morning." The king thought and thought that he must mean a cat, or something simple like that. When the king arrived home, his servants ran out to meet him shouting, "Make haste, your majesty, because you have a beautiful baby daughter, more radiant than the sun itself." But to make a long story short, the little man had said that he would only come to fetch the girl on her 15th birthday. When the king saw how pretty the princess was, he knew not whether to weep with joy or with sorrow. The queen said to him, "Are you not happy?" "Oh yes, I'm happy, very happy," the king said, and he told her the story. Days became months and months became years, and the princess grew. On her 15th birthday, the devil appeared because the little man was really the devil. "Send your daughter out, king, for I have come to collect her at last." Oh dear, oh dear. The king and the queen wept and wailed. What can we possibly do?" The gooseherd's daughter was also there, so they quickly dressed her in golden robes studded with diamonds. Then they put a crown on her head, opened the door, and sent her out. The devil had a wheelbarrow that he made the girl sit in, and he pushed her away. He pushed her past water where geese were swimming. When the geese saw the girl, they began to gaggle. "Ga, ga, ga, where are you going, goose girl?" "I'm going to hell and the devil's taking me." "You're not the real princess?" the devil asked. "No, not at all. I'm the gooseherd's daughter." So the devil grew so angry that he tipped the girl from the barrow and left her there. the devil marched back to the royal palace. "Listen, King, if you won't give me your daughter, I'll smash your door in." "Oh dear," wailed the king and the queen. The swineherd's daughter was also there, so they quickly dressed her in golden robes studded with diamonds. Then they put a crown on her head, opened the door, and sent her out. The pigs soon began to grunt. "Where are you going, pig girl?" "I'm going to hell, and the devil's taking me." "You're not the real princess?" the devil asked. "No, not at all. I'm the swineherd's daughter." "Listen, king, open the door and give me the princess, or else I shall set your palace on fire." The king and the queen were both terrified, so they dressed their daughter while they wept, and they pushed her out of the door. The devil was delighted. He put the girl straight into his barrow and wheeled her to hell. Once there, she met a boy called John, who had also been stolen away from somewhere. They were both forced to work hard. John toiled all day in the stable, and the princess did the cooking, the baking, the cleaning, and she looked after the devil. Time passed, and John and the princess spent all their time together. One day John said, "Princess, we should both run away from the devil." "But how could we do that?" "I know a magic spell. I overheard the devil say it. I shall cast a spell on the broom and spit on it. Then the broom will answer for us when the devil tries to find us." That sounds like a wonderful plan. So they waited until the devil fell fast asleep, put the broom by the door, and John spat on its handle. "Speak for us when the devil calls us." Now the devil woke up. "Where are you, princess? Bring me my clothes. I want to get dressed." "Right away," the broom replied. The devil waited for a while and then called again. "Are you bringing my slippers? What takes you so long?" "I'm coming right away." "Wait until I catch you, you naughty child. Where are you, naughty girl?" "Here I am." "Where are you, manservant? Quickly sit on a shovel and ride off after them into the sky. Catch them and bring them back to me." "John, my left ear is itching. Look back." "Oh dear, princess. The devil's servant is after us and he's very close. Let us quickly do magic. I will be an old priest and you can become a church." And so that is what they did. "Listen, old priest, have you seen young John and a princess passing this way?" The old priest pretended to be praying. "Abeles, corbeles, abeles, corbeles." "Old priest, don't chant verse to me, but tell me if you have seen John and the young princess." "Abeles, corbeles, abeles, corbeles." Then the devil's servant sat back on the shovel and flew back to hell. The young couple turned quickly back, the church became the princess, and the old priest became John, and the two of them continued. "Have you seen them? Could you reach them? Did you bring them back?" "I saw no one except an old priest and a church." "But the priest was a fool and simply said, 'Abeles, corbeles,' to all of my questions." "Oh, that was them. Where is my other servant? He should sit on a hot iron and fly away after them." "John, my right ear is itching. Look back." So John looked back and saw the devil's servant flying after them on a red-hot iron. "Let us quickly make magic. You will become a cornfield, and I shall become a farmer, watching his golden field of corn." Then the devil's servant flew down from the sky. "Listen, old farmer, have you seen young John and a princess passing this way?" "Shoo, shoo, sparrows, shoo, shoo. Shoo, pigeons, shoo, shoo, shoo." "Old farmer, don't say shoo to me, but tell me if you have seen John and the young princess." "Shoo, sparrows, shoo, shoo, shoo. Shoo, pigeons, shoo, shoo, shoo." "The farmer's as mad as the priest," manservant said, and rode straight back to the devil. "Did you see them? I saw no one except a field of corn and a wild farmer who shooed away all the birds." "Oh, that was them, the rogues. I shall have to go myself." "Oh, John, both my ears are itching now. Look back." "Oh, princess, now the devil is hot behind us. Hurry, and you'll become a golden duck, and I'll become a pond." "Now wait. I know who you are. I'll catch you and take you back. I swear I will." And the devil went into the water to catch the golden duck, but the duck kept swimming further in. The devil gave chase and swam further still until he reached the middle of the pond, where the water was the deepest, and the devil drowned. Then they both changed magically back. The pond became John, and the golden duck, the princess. Then they both went back to the princess's home. The king and the queen were overjoyed. They held a wonderful wedding, and they all lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. First the dance, then the feast. Once upon a time there lived a poor man. He had even more children than a sieve has holes, and he owned nothing more than a small house. But then the poor man was forced to move out of his home because his landlord wanted so much corn in payment for his rent that he had to leave. And so the poor man decided to hide. In the forest, he met an old man, and the old man asked the poor man where he was going. The poor man told him about his landlord's cruelty. "Don't be so sad, poor man, because I shall give you a fiddle, and whenever you play it, your landlord will dance." The poor man happily took the fiddle, but told the old man that he was still very hungry indeed and he could not return home with a fiddle. Then the old man gave him the gift of a table. "Whatever you wish for will appear on this table." So the poor man slapped his hand hard on the table and shouted, "Porridge and beans." And when the poor man's belly was full, he set off to go home. When the poor man arrived, he discovered that his cruel landlord had already evicted his dear wife and darling children. "Now I shall pay and you shall dance," and the poor man began to fiddle. And the poor man's landlord danced and danced and danced and grew very tired indeed. But as the poor man played as long as he could, his landlord kept on dancing. When the poor man took a rest, the landlord ran back to the mayor's office to report that he wouldn't stop fiddling. But the poor man followed the landlord back to the office and began to fiddle again. "Dance, landlord, dance!" Then the landlord danced into the office and shouted. The men in the office soon grew bored with the poor man's fiddling and they ordered him to leave at once. "Now you should dance too," the poor man commanded. And everyone in the mayor's office began to dance around. They put down their pens and danced a merry jig together. Then the policeman heard the news and ran to the mayor's office. "Get out of here, poor man!" But the poor man shouted, "Now you should dance too!" And the policemen all began to dance around. The women sent word for policemen to come from the next village, and these policemen soon arrived and tried to chase the poor man away. "Now you should dance too!" Now the whole marketplace was filled with people dancing around. Then the soldiers marched up and the poor man said, "Now you should dance too, as best you can." News of the dancing finally found its way to the king's ears. "Now the king should dance too," the poor man demanded. So the king joined in the frantic dance. The queen of the kingdom contacted the king from the neighbouring land, and this king arrived with his army, and the country was soon filled with his foreign soldiers. The second king called upon the poor man to desist. The two dancing kings put their crowns down at his feet and gave him their lands. So peace returned, and the dancing eventually ended. Now all the dancers had grown so hungry and asked the poor man to feed them at last. The poor man took out his table, slapped it and said, "Porridge and beans." Then everyone sat down to enjoy the meal, and the tiny table made more and more and more of the food. The people standing next to the table were lucky, but the ones at the back could not reach the porridge pot, and the people pushed the kings into the beans. The king's shouts were soon drowned out, and both kings drowned in the big pot of beans. No one felt sad that the kings had gone, and all pushed forward to eat their fill. Everyone ate and ate till all was gone, and they all had a splendid time indeed.